Hello, my name is Travis Vickerson, and today we're going to talk about electrical hazards in relation to working with cranes from the TCIA Tree Care Academy, Crane Operations Specialist. Section number 2 is electrical hazards. I kind of have a personal issue with electrical hazards and people getting injured by them. Electricity is kind of like a railroad track. You only get hit by a train if you get in front of the railroad track or get on the railroad track in front of the train. The train doesn't leave the railroad track to hit you. Electricity is very similar. Electricity only hits you if you get in its way or you put some object in its way that you are touching, thus being indirect contact. We know electricity is present on pretty much every job site we operate on. Yet we still have people getting injured and having people killed. As you can see in these two pictures here in the slide, we have one operator here who has a phone line in his mouth. He is literally chewing on a phone line while he makes a cut. Now, some people say, oh, well, that's a communication wire. It's not power. Just so you know, NIOSH released a report a few years back that says communication lines have 49 volts of electricity running through them. Now, obviously, amps are what we worry about when it comes to fatalities, not volts. But all amps are is ohms of resistance, the volts divided by ohms of resistance. Your mouth does not have a whole lot of ohms of resistance being a wet environment. Putting a phone wire in your mouth is a good way to get killed. Though it's only 49 volts, if you're able to bite through that sheathing and make contact with electricity in that wire, especially with some of the new communication systems that are being utilized in businesses that are running on higher voltage, you could have a fatality. The lethal limit reported by OSHA is 50 volts. So NIOSH comes in right at 49 volts, right below the lethal limit, which is 50 volts. And if you, like this individual in the picture, decide to put a phone wire in your mouth and bite it, I've kind of looked at that as natural selection. Don't do that or you end up like the guy on the right side. The guy on the right side made indirect contact with the primaries through the piece he was rigging. Piece came down, connected with the primaries. He grabbed the piece, and thus you can see the result. So electrical hazards are something that are always present in almost every job we deal with and become a big issue with cranes. Cranes, in their own essence, are giant lightning rods. They're not grounded. They're not insulated. They're big pieces of metal that go directly to the ground. Thankfully, our operator would be sitting inside the cab here if our crane here were to come in contact with electrical power. The crane became energized. The energy flowed from the load line down the boom into the crane, down the outriggers into the ground. The operator would probably be fine. He probably could sit there in that cab for quite a while. No issues. In the event, though, that somebody comes walking up to the truck, and they have what's called step potential. Step potential is the difference of electrical current flowing through the ground. So as you approach the crane, one foot may have one level of voltage. The other foot may have a different level of voltage. Well, voltage is going to follow the path of least resistance. So as you pick up that rear foot, now you have all of the potential in one foot. When that next foot comes in contact with the ground, that's going to be the next outlet, therefore creating electrical contact. So if the event that your crane does come in contact with electrical hazards, your crane becomes energized, you go walk up to the operator, ask what's going on, and you feel your toes start to tingle, stop what you're doing, and just simply do the moonwalk backwards. We used to teach the bunny hop. The problem with the bunny hop is over time, you eventually start favoring one foot or the other and start making contact unequally. So we want to make sure we can do the bunny hop if you can only land perfectly flat every single time, which isn't reality. Also, you have the potential of while you're bunny hopping, you could trip, you could fall, you could stumble, and then now your hand's coming down making contact. When that hand makes contact, you have the same problem as the 2 feet. So it's best just to do the moonwalk, shuffle your feet backwards until you can no longer feel the tingling in your toes. So minimum approach distance. It's mad. What is our minimum approach distance for crane work? Per the Z133, 10 feet is as close as you can get doing crane work to electrical hazards. That's primaries, communication wires, so forth. 10 feet. Now, I understand in the Z133, we have different tables for qualified line clearance, qualified incidental line clearance, and non-qualified. But when it comes to cranes, 10 feet is as close as we can operate per Z133. Now, I'm sure there's people out there who have operated closer than 10 feet. It's your life. You choose to do what you wish. But as far as the Z133 is concerned and OSHA is concerned, 10 feet is the rule that we operate with. In the construction industry, it's 50 feet. So we're actually operating closer than the construction industry is allowed to operate. So with the three types of clearance we talked about, you have non-qualified, or not qualified, sorry, qualified incidental, and qualified line clearance. The only difference between these three is the training you have and who you're working for. So in the non-qualified or not qualified section, you have no formal training in electrical hazard awareness. You have not had CPR first aid, and you've not had aerial rescue training. Once you get those three aspects, you now have the training component of being a qualified line clearance arborist or qualified incidental line clearance arborist. Difference now is who you work for. So if I'm running this crane and today we're doing a residential tree care job, removing a large tree, and there's power lines on the customer's property, and we're working directly for the customer. I am a qualified incidental line clearance arborist because I'm working for the consumer. The exact same job though, and we're being contracted by the power company to come in, who is the owner or the provider of the electricity. Now we are a qualified line clearance arborist. Exact same training, exact same qualifications. The difference is who we're working for. But that doesn't change the fact that with our crane, we can still only operate 10 feet. The three tables that you see here are just how we're allowed to operate. We're going to skip over all that and go right into safe lifting and the load charts. So that's it for section 2. Section 2 is one of the smallest sections in the book. It is 2 pages. Real easy to do, no big deal. Thank you for tuning in for this module. Hopefully you got a lot of information out of it and can utilize this information to help you complete the Tree Care Academy Crane Operations Specialist book.